Barbara Esbensen, Words into Pictures, by Barbara Fireman, illustrated by Martha Doty. Page 3. Ever since Barbara Juster Esbensen was a girl, she loved words. She loved the sound of words. Most of all, she loved the pictures that words made in her mind. Barbara was born Barbara Juster in 1925 in Madison, Wisconsin. As a child, she loved to read beside a special tree. One of her favorite authors was L.M. Montgomery, who wrote Anne of Green Gables. Montgomery's words inspired Barbara to play with words on her own. Her bedroom faced west, and she could see the sunset from her window. For fun, she named her bedroom Castle Afterglow. She liked the sound of that name. Then she started making up rhymes to recite as she walked to school. Page 4. Barbara also loved to draw. Her teachers praised her artwork. Her parents encouraged her too. They arranged for Barbara to take art lessons from a neighbor. In 1939, Barbara was in 10th grade. One morning, she heard a news report on the radio. The report stated that Russia was trying to conquer Finland. When Barbara got to school, she located the two countries on a world map. She saw how much bigger Russia was than the small nation of Finland. She became very angry. That night, Barbara wrote a poem about the events in Finland. She used her poem to express her reactions. The next day, she gave the poem to her English teacher, Miss Beffel. Miss Beffel read the poem and exclaimed, "Barbara, you are a writer." Page 6. Miss Beffel herself was a poet, and her poems had been published. She became Barbara's mentor. A mentor is someone who teaches and encourages another person. Miss Beffel suggests that Barbara read the work of poets such as Amy Lowell, Stephen Vincent Bennett, and Sarah Teasdale. From these poets, Barbara learned that poems don't have to rhyme. The way in which these poets combined words excited her. She wanted to create images or pictures with words as they had done. Page 7. Miss Beffel encouraged Barbara to write more poetry. She also promised to read every one of Barbara's poems. She told Barbara which ones were good and which ones needed more work. Barbara trusted Mrs. Beffel's opinions. She listened carefully when Miss Beffel explained why a certain poem needed more work. Barbara graduated from high school and went on to college. She studied art education at the University of Wisconsin. After college, she taught art to students in kindergarten through 12th grade. Then she taught her own 3rd and 5th grade classes. In 1953, she married Thorwald Esbensen. Over the years, they had 6 children. Page 8. Although Esbensen spent many years as a teacher, she always thought of herself first as a writer. She wrote many poems and sent them to publishers. At first, none of them offered to publish her poems, yet she managed not to become discouraged. She continued writing and sending her poems to publishers. In 1965, Esbensen's determination paid off. Her first book of poetry was published. She gave it the title, Swing Around the Sun. It is a collection of poems about the seasons of the year. Her next book of poems, Cold Stars and Fireflies, was also about the seasons. Page 10. Someone once asked Esbensen how she began writing a poem. She explained that she started with a topic or an idea. Then she wrote all the words that came into her mind when she thought about the topic. Next, she played with the words. She tried combining them to create different images or pictures. Then she was ready to begin writing. Page 11. After she wrote a poem, Esbensen said, the real writing began. She read the poem and revised it. She might reread and rewrite it several times before it seemed right. She would also send the poem to Miss Bethel and to other friends of hers. She would ask them to read the poem and tell her what they thought of it. Esbensen trusted these people's advice. She knew that their ideas and reactions could help her to improve every poem. Page 12. Barbara Esbensen never forgot that the other people had helped her learn to write. She also remembered that children love to play with words, just as she had done as a child. Her young son George said, "Your petunias are foaming down the walk." Another time, one of her other children said, "The fire is roaring like a tiger. It's blowing like a flag." And a student of hers once wrote, "Under the snow, the river freezes like a wrinkled gown." Page 13. One of the books Esbensen wrote helps teachers teach writing to children. The book is called A Celebration of Bees, Helping Children to Write Poetry. The idea for the book title came from something else Esbensen's son George said. He entered the house one day and announced, "Mommy, there's a celebration of bees out there." In her book, Esbensen tells teachers how to help children use words creatively, just as Georgie did. Page 14. Esbensen taught children how to shape their creativity into poetry by guiding them through the steps she herself followed. First, she told them to choose a subject they would like to write about. Then she had them write the subject on a piece of paper. Next, she would urge them to write down as many words as they could think of related to their subject. Page 15. Next, Esbensen invited children to make different combinations of the words on the page, just for fun. She encouraged them to notice how the word pairings looked and sounded, and to notice the pictures that the word suggested to them. This was how a poem might develop. Finally, Esbensen would tell children to repeat the process all over again. Page 16. Barbara Juster Esbensen was well respected by teachers and other authors. In 1994, she received the National Council of Teachers of English Award for Excellence in Poetry for Children. After she died, in 1996, a teaching award was established in Esbensen's memory. The award is given each year to the teacher who best uses the ideas in A Celebration of Bees. Thanks to this book and all the rest of Esbensen's work, thousands of children everywhere are discovering for themselves something Esbensen often said. When a word is said, it strays in the room with you as if it were alive. The end.